Please like the video and share it so that it reaches many more people and you get sawaba, or rewards from Allah. This could be a sawabe jariyah or continuous reward for you long after you are gone.
Volume 4, Book 56, number 781. Narrated by Abdur Rahman bin Abi Bakr. The companions of Sufa were poor people. The Prophet once said, "Whoever has food enough for 2 persons, should take a third one from among them, and whoever has food enough for 4 persons, should take a 5th or a 6th, or said something similar. Abu Bakr brought 3 persons while the Prophet took 10. And Abu Bakr with his 3 family member, who were I, my father and my mother. The sub-narrator is in doubt whether Abdur Rahman said, my wife and my servant, who was common for both my house and Abu Bakr's house. Abu Bakr took his supper with the Prophet and stayed there till he offered the Isha prayers. He returned and stayed till Allah's Apostle took his supper. After a part of the night had passed, he returned to his house. His wife said to him, "What has detained you from your guests?" He said, "Have you served supper to them?" She said, "They refused to take supper until you come." They, i.e. some members of the household, presented the meal to them, but they refused to eat. I went to hide myself, and he said, "O Gunther." He invoked Allah to cause my ears to be cut, and he rebuked me. He then said to them, "Please eat," and added, "I will never eat the meal." By Allah, whenever we took a handful of the meal grew from underneath more than that handful till everybody ate to his satisfaction. Yet the remaining food was more than the original meal. Abu Bakr saw that the food was as much or more than the original amount. He called his wife, "O sister of Bani Firas." She said, "O pleasure of my eyes. The food has been tripled in quantity." Abu Bakr then started eating thereof and said, "It, i.e. my oath not to eat, was because of Saul." He took a handful from it, and carried the rest to the Prophet. So that food was with the Prophet. There was a treaty between us and some people, and when the period of that treaty had elapsed, he divided us into 12 groups, each being headed by a man. Allah knows how many men were under the command of each leader. Anyhow, the Prophet surely sent a leader with each group. Then all of them ate of that meal. Volume 4, Book 56, number 782. Narrated by Anas. Once during the lifetime of Allah's Apostle, the people of Medina suffered from drought. So while the Prophet was delivering a sermon on a Friday, a man got up saying, "O Allah's Apostle, the horses and sheep have perished. Will you invoke Allah to bless us with rain?" The Prophet lifted both his hands and invoked. The sky at that time was as clear as glass. Suddenly a wind blew, raising clouds that gathered together, and it started raining heavily. We came out of the mosque, wading through the flowing water till we reached our homes. It went on raining till the next Friday, when the same man or some other man stood up and said, "O Allah's Apostle, the houses have collapsed. Please invoke Allah to withhold the rain." On that the Prophet smiled and said, "O Allah, let it rain around us and not on us." I then looked at the clouds to see them separating, forming a sort of a crown round Medina. Volume 4, Book 56, number 783. Narrated by Ibn Umar. The Prophet used to deliver his sermons while standing beside a trunk of a date palm. When he had the pulpit made, he used it instead. The trunk started crying and the Prophet went to it, rubbing his hand over it, to stop its crying. Volume 4, Book 56, number 784. Narrated by Jabir bin Abdullah. The Prophet used to stand by a tree or a date palm on Friday. Then an Ansari woman or man said, "O Allah's Apostle, shall we make a pulpit for you?" He replied, "If you wish." So they made a pulpit for him, and when it was Friday, he proceeded towards the pulpit, for delivering the sermon. The date palm cried like a child. The Prophet descended the pulpit and embraced it while it continued moaning like a child being quietened. The Prophet said, it was crying for missing what it used to hear of religious knowledge given near to it. Volume 4, Book 56, number 785. Narrated by Anas bin Malik, that he heard Jabir bin Abdullah saying, the roof of the mosque was built over trunks of date palms working as pillars. When the Prophet delivered a sermon, he used to stand by one of those trunks till the pulpit was made for him, and he used it instead. Then we heard the trunk sending a sound like of a pregnant she-camel till the Prophet came to it, and put his hand over it, then it became quiet. Volume 4, Book 56, number 786. Narrated by Hadith. Once, Umar bin al-Khattab said, who amongst you remembers the statement of Allah's Apostle regarding the afflictions? Hadith replied, I remember what he said exactly. Umar said, tell us. You are really a daring man. Hadith said, Allah's Apostle said, a man's afflictions, i.e. wrong deeds, concerning his relation to his family, his property and his neighbors are expiated by his prayers, giving in charity and enjoining what is good and forbidding what is evil. Umar said, I don't mean these afflictions but the afflictions that will be heaving up and down like waves of the sea. Hadith replied, O chief of the believers, you need not fear those afflictions, as there is a closed door between you and them. Umar asked, will that door be opened or broken? Hadith replied, no, it will be broken. Umar said, then it is very likely that the door will not be closed again. Later on the people asked Hadith, did Umar know what that door meant? He said, yes, Umar knew it as everyone knows that there will be night before the tomorrow morning. I narrated to Umar an authentic narration, not lies. We dared not ask Hadith. Therefore we requested Masruq, who asked him, what does the door stand for? He said, Umar. Volume 4, Book 56, number 787. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. The Prophet said, the hour will not be established till you fight a nation wearing hairy shoes, until you fight the Turks, who will have small eyes, red faces and flat noses, and their faces will be like flat shields. And you will find that the best people are those who hate responsibility of ruling most of all till they are chosen to be the rulers. And the people are of different natures. The best in the pre-Islamic period are the best in Islam. A time will come when any of you will love to see me rather than to have his family and property doubled. Volume 4, Book 56, number 788. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. The Prophet said, the hour will not be established till you fight with the Kurd and the Kerman from among the non-Arabs. They will be of red faces, flat noses and small eyes. Their faces will look like flat shields, and their shoes will be of hair.